15th February 2024 is a red letter day for Indian Constitution and history of India, since the Supreme Court of India has struck down the electoral bond, provisions of electoral bond on this day. Here we have with us Mr. Prashant Bhushan, an ace advocate, a vice counsel of Supreme Court of India. Let's interact with him regarding the electoral bond. Mr. Bhushan, welcome to Premier News 7.
Thank you.
It was a red letter day for Indian Constitution and for Indian history that the Supreme Court of India null and void the age-old practice of electoral bonds. So now electoral bond has gone. So what will be your opinion?
No, there are many other problems also with our electoral system, but electoral bond was a serious problem, because of which there was a lot of bribe money being given to the ruling parties, and therefore it's very good that the Supreme Court struck it down and also upheld the people's right to know about who is funding which political party.
Do you think that there would be any other ways for funding those political institutions or entities to for free and fair election?
Yeah, there are many other ways in which people give a lot of cash to these political parties also. Some of that cash is reported, some of this cash is not reported. Even the cash which is reported, they don't reveal who has given them the money, because of a rule which says that if you have received money in tranches of less than 20,000, you don't have to disclose who has given you the money. So they just say, we received 1,000 crores in cash. Sometimes they don't even say that. So therefore, we have to stop cash in the business of elections. For that, one simple amendment could have been brought in the Representation of People Act, that political parties and candidates will only have to transact their business through banking channels, no cash. If cash is used, then it will be a corrupt practice for which they will be disqualified. They could have done that. Secondly, there is also a problem of the imbalance of funds with political parties and the use of huge amounts of money by the ruling parties who have access to a lot of money. That should have been stopped by putting a limit on spending of political parties. There is a limit on spending of candidates, but no limit on political parties. So all these reforms should also come apart from proportional representation as well as state funding of elections.
Could you briefly underline the origin, history and the background of this electoral bond?
Yes, this bond was brought in 2017-18 by Mr. Jaitley, saying that this is anonymous bonds are necessary to prevent the ruling party from victimizing companies which are donating to the opposition. But all this information was there with the State Bank, which was issuing the bonds, and therefore it was already known to the ruling party. So this was a bogus explanation. At that time, the Reserve Bank as well as Election Commission all opposed these bonds, saying that this would lead to money laundering, this would lead to Benami funding, that this would defeat the right of information of the citizens, etc. But despite that, the bonds were brought, and fortunately now the Supreme Court has struck them down.
As far as the political arena of Odisha is concerned, or even India is concerned, there are much more moneyed people in this politics, whereas some social outfits, some that means age politicians for public opinion leaders, and some social activists are there. Those can't come to electoral politics due to lack of money. So would you like to elude anything regarding state funding of electoral, that means state funding for those candidates?
Yes, I think there should be state funding of elections. That is something like 50 rupees per vote can be easily given by the government at the end of the election, so that candidates who are good social activists and who don't have any money can also borrow some money from their friends and relatives, and thereafter return them the money after the elections if they get a substantial number of votes. So therefore, that's a practice which is there in many countries, should be introduced in India as well.
There are so many practices like public funding from donation from people. So if the electoral bonds will be null and void, then how the existence of the sustainability and existence of the parties will be in problem.
No, no. Parties can always receive donations from people. In fact, there are some countries where corporate donations are banned. So only individuals who can donate to political parties, and political parties and elections should be conducted in very little money. It is conducted in very little money in many countries in Europe. It is only in India or in America that so much money is spent in elections. This is a practice which should be curbed.
Do you think that RTI is the only crusade to kill away or do away with the corruption as a whole?
No, transparency is a very important issue, and if there is transparency, that certainly reduces a lot of corruption. But transparency by itself, transparency should also be accompanied with proper and robust systems of accountability by which those parties and those individuals who are indulging in malpractices can be investigated and brought to book quickly and credibly.
Thank you.